Only 4 weeks left of NFL football. I'm celebrating that fact, and many others are going to be sad. And some are just going to be excited because the playoffs are on their way and they got a shot at making them, or they've already confirmed that they're going to be in them. It'll be a fun close to the season, regardless of where you stand there. People will be excited for Black Monday, or they'll be excited for playoff seeding. So, that all being said, Michael, you ready to do some picks for this week?
I am. Let's take a look.
Excellent. Welcome, everyone. This is We Are the Game. I'm Luke, and that's Michael, and we're going to do our picks for Week 15, and we're going to be using the NFL Pick'em site, which looks exactly like this bad boy right here. And, we're going to go ahead and get started with this. So join us as we go through this. Please hit a like and subscribe if you'd be so kind. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers. We appreciate you. Now let's do this thing. For Thursday night, we have the Falcons going to play the Buccaneers. The Falcons, with Kirk Cousins, do not seem like a particularly lethal combination right now. We'll see if they've got Drake London back. There may have already been word, and I missed it. But without him, their pass game just seems rather stale. Bijan Robinson is still a beast. He's a rather unsung, maybe not hero is the wrong word, but elite player, because the Falcons are just not very good at all. But the other side of this is their pass rush has been elite this year, and credit to them for flipping that script after last year being the opposite of elite. So, that all being said, Tampa's still fighting for first in that division with Carolina. They still need to get healthy, but they do a lot of things right. This seems like a good opportunity to move the needle in that division a bit. Michael, who do you have winning this game?
Well, it's just amazing how many things can change in just a couple of weeks, right? It's like a couple of weeks ago, I'd have picked the Bucs without even thinking here, because they looked like they were doing good. But I mean, they just lost to their division rival in the Saints, and that all of a sudden makes the Falcons seem like, well, yeah, there's things not working there, but I don't know that they're worse than the Saints. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to pick for sure. I'm still going to lean with the Bucs here. It seems like the money should be on them. That's relative money. But I would hope that they can still pull this out. But the Falcons, they're up 1 week and down the next. I would not be shocked at all if they didn't pop back up here in this game and put up some points and have a much better showing than they did against what's really looking like quite a challenger to the crown in the Seahawks. So we'll see. We'll see how they do.
Yeah, we try not to judge them too hard on how a team plays against the Seahawks. That team is very well constructed right now. Sadly, I hate to admit that. On that note, more or less, the Rams, another division rival of mine, have the Falcons' first-round pick next year. So I'll be rooting as hard as I humanly can for the Falcons to win, so that draft pick gets worse and worse. Sorry, Bucs, I actually like you, but I need you to lose this one. So please, if you would be so kind. Moving into Sunday, the 1 o'clock bracket, we've got the Browns playing the Bears. The Bears coming off a disappointing close game with the Green Bay Packers. Came down to the very end, but they did lose. The Browns losing that weird game to Tennessee makes me feel a little better, because now we're not the only team that lost to Tennessee. But here we are again. Myles Garrett gets a little bit closer. I think he's at 20 sacks now. Still looking, eyeing that record. He may get it here. Just every week from here on out, it's going to be record watch for Myles Garrett. And Lord knows Caleb Williams knows how to get sacked. So this will be an interesting opportunity. However, I'm not sure it's much of an opportunity for the Browns to right the ship and get a win. What do you think on this one?
I think that this is probably fairly accurate. I did not imagine that the Browns would lose to the Titans, and what was a strange situation there. But they did put up 29 points. That's something, but it's all against the Titans. So maybe they figured some new things out. I do like their tight end Fannin and the way he's playing and how Shador's using him. I think he may be kind of a hidden gem in there. The Bears, though, yes, they lost to the Packers in a strange game, and like a cold weather kind of game and all that. I don't know. I think on another game they might have taken that game. I don't think they played that poorly against what is another very true playoff team. While I do think that Myles Garrett will get closer to the record, I don't think the Browns will walk away from that with a win. So I'll stick with the Bears on that one, especially at home.
Yeah, that makes sense. It might be snow on the ground again, although, they probably snow in Cleveland too. So we shall see. But it should be pretty fun. The Bears kind of out of nowhere run game between Swift and Monangai has been kind of fun to watch ever since that Eagles game. And really, they were having good games even before that, but they run hard. Monangai in particular runs like he's angry. So that'll be fun to watch. I would just advise him not to try to run angry at Myles Garrett because, again, you die. On the other side of this, I'm excited to see myself get maybe proven wrong more and more, as Shedeur Sanders has already shown some things that I didn't think he had in him or would have in him year one. I've been kind of impressed by his elusiveness and his ability to keep his eyes downfield while on the move in particular. So he might be on the move in this game, and he's going to need to be accurate if he wants a shot. So good luck to Shedeur Sanders. Go win that job, man. That'll be impressive. Let it save the Browns from a lot of heartache. So, all right, next we've got the Ravens going to play the Bengals. Ravens not playing all that great right now, losing that spot temporarily, at least, to the Steelers in the AFC North. Bengals, with that loss they just had, they probably eliminate themselves from contention, not quite mathematically, again, because of their division, not exactly running away with things. But 4-9 seems, it doesn't seem like 8-9 is going to get you there. But that team doesn't seem to care about their record week to week. They're just like, hey, we're here to play football, so we're going to try to win.
Yeah.
And the Ravens, I'm certainly not going to count out. They're not playing like the Ravens were there when they were surging from 1-5.
To me, the Bengals are playing to win and just have fun playing football because they don't have anything else. On the other side, the Ravens, after losing to the Steelers, I think are considerably more desperate to win. Now, whether that turns into more mistakes, whether that turns into sharper gameplay, that'll be interesting to see. My take here is that the Ravens will find a way to pull this one out. I'm actually going to pick on we'll call it an underdog here as far as percentages go, but I kind of think the Ravens are going to pick things up, figure some things out. They had been playing some good football. They stumbled a bit. Now I think they're going to come back and have a good game, I think, against the Bengals. I would be a little surprised if this wasn't a shootout. I always think this is a good game between these two teams whenever they play each other. They just seem to play each other hard. Both teams generally score a lot of points. Kind of fun football in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I will say that if the Bengals had somehow come out on top over the Bills this last week, I'd be picking them rather easily.
Yeah.
And then just losing a shootout to Josh Allen, I don't think there's a whole lot of shame in that. Certainly not. You weren't trying to shame them. But we'll see. It's going to be a good game. That'd be a fun upset to see. Then you got a game that is a lot less fun, but it'll be good for Texans who are trying to keep up with the Jags and separate themselves from the Colts a bit more. You got the Cardinals going to play the Texans. There's really nothing positive to say about the Cardinals right now. We're on Michael Wilson contract watch, but that's about it. Other than that, we're just counting down the days until most likely we fire some amount of the coaches, maybe not all of them, probably some of them, and then we look at big changes in the coming offseason. We're still looking at Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback. They've announced that Trey Benson today is not going to come back from IR this year. So, yeah, fun aboundeth. We have managed to not have atrocious games as far as pass protection is concerned in the last couple of weeks. I expect that to end soundly this coming week against the Texans, who they are just destroyers of worlds when it comes to their pass rush. So I think this is a nightmare matchup for us. Even if this wasn't like a pretty darn good team and a terrible team, this would just be a terrible matchup for us. So, yeah. You got any way in the world the Cardinals win this one, or?
Oh man, you got me working now. Now you set the table against them so much. I'm still not a believer really in the Texans' offense, right? To me, their offense really reminds me a lot of the Chiefs. It needs some things to work in their favor for it to work, right? But I also think that the Cardinals' defense, for whatever reason, has actually, I think, gotten worse over the season. I don't think I think in the beginning half of the season, they were very sharp. They were sharp within the red zone anyway. And I feel like since then, they've kind of fallen off some, probably having been on the field too much. But I'll be interested. The short version is no. I think this is Houston's game. It's Houston's game to need to absolutely bomb to lose. Now, we have seen some of those in the last few weeks. We've seen quarterbacks from Super Bowl type teams throw 4 interceptions or have 4 turnovers. I mean, you can have a Jalen Hurts kind of a day any day. It can happen. where you can have an interception and a fumble in the same play. You just never know. It's a funny game. So, but I would think you need a game full of that kind of stuff for the Cards in the kind of the shape and situation they're in to come around. So no, the short version is I think that the Texans should win this one pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I'm not super scared, honestly, of their offense over our defense, but more just the complete shutdown of our offense. I think we might finally see Jacoby Brissett get shut down on this whole 250 yards and 2 touchdowns bit, but we'll see. He has found a way against some pretty good defenses in the last 7 weeks, so we'll see. Then we've got similarly lopsided, in fact, identically similarly lopsided. We got the Jets going to play the Jaguars. Jaguars leading that division, playing pretty well, very well-rounded football team, just an even team all around. Jets have given us some entertaining games in the last few weeks, but they just don't look like they're doing anything well enough to be a big threat to much of anyone. So without a whole lot of intro going into this one, who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, I think the Tyrod Taylor kind of stuff with the Jets has looked better. They've been more intriguing to watch, but the Jags have been making good headway here in their division. They know that they're in it, and they have a chance to really be successful on a very high level this season. If they can just stay consistent, overlooking a team like the Jets would be a massive mistake. They can still hurt you, but yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to stay focused to get it done. So I'll take the Jags in this one.
Yeah, it should be good. I'm curious to see A.D. Mitchell, Adonai Mitchell, when he moved over here with the Sauce Gardner trade, he's had a couple of good games for them, and I'm curious to see. He's got to be on, try to kind of get right. So it feels like kind of viewed as a failed experiment from the Colts, and now can he get right with the Jets and still be if he can be pretty good, then suddenly they find themselves with at least one good situation moving into next year, which is they've got 2 good receivers with A.D. Mitchell as a solid 2, and Garrett Wilson as their 1. They're going to be trying to attract a quarterback either in the draft or free agency. It's one of the places they've suggested my Cardinals Kyler Murray might end up going. We'll see. Seems like it's very close, but also far away. But yeah, I'd have to agree. The Jags are probably going to win this one. So they also, they're trying to keep pace against the Texans right behind them, and they'll have some really important matchups later on. So with that game out of the way, a couple of really lopsided looking games out of the way, we got some pretty good matchups coming up after that. First, we've got the Chargers going to play the Chiefs. The Chargers coming off a nice win, but also, I guess I call it a really ugly win, actually, over the Eagles, but still, I'm sure it made you happy. Turning Jalen Hurts over 5 times, twice in one play, as has been well documented. It had to be enjoyable for you to watch. The Chiefs coming off a disappointing loss, but still, if you're counting the Chiefs out of the playoffs altogether, you're being foolish, I believe. So who do you have winning this close AFC West matchup?
It's a strange game, I think, in many regards. Like right now, I guess the shortest version of it is that the Chargers are 3 games away, 3 games moved on from having been run over by Jacksonville. Just completely embarrassed. And then it's certainly not exactly how the game against the Eagles went, but still, they're finding ways to win. They're staying in games. They're causing chaos, all of that. And the Chiefs are finding ways to lose. They very similarly, eerily similarly, look like the Eagles in many ways. So I think right now, for momentum's sake, if nothing else, I think I'm probably going to stick with them. Although I'm starting to wonder a little bit about how healthy is Herbert? Is he 100% and all of that? We'll see. We'll see how that goes in this game. I expect he will get pushed around some in this game as well. So, but I will pick the Chargers in this one to upset the Chiefs. I guess that would be an upset technically.
Ever so slightly, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, it will be interesting. For sure, Herbert's not 100%, but is he capable of 100% still? I guess is obviously what you're referring to. And yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. He, with that the non-throwing hand injury, he was wincing frequently from it, but he still seemed like he was capable of doing the job for the most part. So that is interesting. The return of Omari and Hampton was nice to see. It'll be nice to see him really cut loose in some game where it's not going against a really good really good run defense. On the other side of this, I felt like when I watched that Chiefs game, they had an awful lot of just drops. Like the Texans played good defense, very opportunistic defense and all that. But I mean, you got Travis Kelce just dropping things, batting them up into the air. Rashee Rice had a really bad game. It felt like they beat themselves in a lot of ways. So I will not be shocked at all if the Chiefs win this one. But AFC West is like so many other divisions, and they play themselves kind of funny. We shall see. It should be one of the really good games.
Well, one of the other things on Houston real quick was, Houston hit them hard. Like it was a very, very physical game. And I think that Kelce and Rice both react similarly to that as Pat Mahomes. They don't respond particularly well to that in games. And so, I think if the Chargers can produce similar challenge, I think they'll end up in the right spot here.
Yeah, and if the Chargers want to even be close to that, they're going to need Derwin James. There's some thought that he might not play this week. So after a head injury, we're not really sure the extent of if it's a concussion protocol kind of thing or what. But if he can come back, that will help them with that defense across the middle of the secondary. So we'll see. Next, we've got the Bills going to play the Patriots. Another division matchup, another heavy playoff implications here. Bills can't afford to lose this one if they want to have a shot at winning that division. The Patriots probably have it locked up based on who they have remaining on their schedule, but that's not really fair, I guess. But there's a good chance that, they've got a fairly winnable schedule closing out. This is probably the toughest game that they will have. The Bills need this one. So it's a very close game. Bills apparently being picked slightly more than the Patriots here. Who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, I get it. I get why the Patriots might not be the obvious or the easy pick here. And we were kind of talking about that, is they're very good at beating all the teams that they've played. They just haven't played a lot of higher end competition. And so it's made where are they really as far as how do they respond to that kind of level of competition hard to gauge. I'm really excited for this game because this is their real big team. This is the last big team they play for the rest of the year. And obviously it's high implication for the Bills. This should be a blast. I'm really excited about this game. With the Bills, Josh Allen is kind of the Superman of the league. He is the only quarterback, in my opinion, that kind of single-handedly can will your team to a win. We don't know who his receivers are and all of that particularly. He just gets it done. Drake May on the other side looks phenomenal as well. They definitely have momentum on their side. I'm torn between these two, and I'm going to pick the Patriots on this because I do think that in many regards they're kind of the more complete team. And I do think that when the Bills win, and I think the Bengals game was an example of this a bit, they win when Josh carries them. And, they're heavily, heavily reliant upon him to overcome all the other flaws on that team, which is fun to watch. But I think this might be the Patriots game to win. I think it's huge implications for the Patriots because I think it's a very downhill schedule for them after that.
Yeah, for sure. After this game, I think the Dolphins, when at the close, will be interesting because that game always ends up being interesting. But also the Dolphins have some interesting implications moving forward, but yeah, this one will be interesting. I don't know, for some reason I think the Bills might win it. It's close. It's certainly not the Patriots are bad for obviously, but we'll see. This will be one of the better games of the day. We got to do another game after that is similarly close but much less similarly relevant. So we've got the Commanders going to play the Giants. Giants fans are probably rooting for their team to lose here because right now, if the draft were to happen right this second, the Giants actually have the first overall pick. The Titans winning that game last week moved them down a couple spots, and the Giants are now the first overall pick in the upcoming draft. However, if they find a way to win this game, they'll drop all the way to 6th, theoretically. So I need either of these teams to win a couple of 3 games closing out so that my Cardinals will move up. But we'll see. The Commanders had Jaden Daniels return. We'll see how much that moves the needle closing out. I imagine that team, from an ownership, maybe GM kind of standpoint, doesn't really want to win a whole lot of games closing out either. They have a ton of injuries. and they're clearly just not playing magically and consistently like they were last year. So, who do you have winning this game?
I think it's a tough one. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think the Giants would be smart to start Russell Wilson, but they probably won't. I do think right now the way that these two teams are playing, it should be a very evenly matched up game in a lot of regards. Whatever Jaden is, wherever he is physically, it was not great against the Vikings. The Vikings have a good defense, but he did not look good. So I think he'll be better, and I hope they didn't rush him back from injury so that he could come back to all of this. But I expect there to be a real game from him against the Giants. I think that they will I do think Washington will end up on the right side of this one, even with their injuries. And again, part of that is because I don't think it's great for the Giants to win it, and I think they know it. And partly just because they're finding ways to lose. So we'll see. But I think I would take the Commanders in this one.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're probably the overall an organization that's in a better spot than the Giants right now. But we'll see. It's in New York. We'll see if there's a bunch of snow on the ground or something like that. Maybe that changes the dynamic here. It should be an oddly fun game to watch, even though it's between two very much so struggling teams. Right. Then we got a game where we're going to be praying as hard as we can, right? For the Raiders going to play against the Eagles. Obviously, the Eagles are favored almost completely in this game. The Raiders just not playing well right now. Nothing is really working well, and you're going to have a pretty angry Eagles team. This feels like a bounce back game for them, so they can try to reassert themselves in the NFC, kind of get right the ship. Lost in the mess of that game and all the turnovers and everything was they were able to sack Justin Herbert 7 times, and so I think Geno Smith is probably breathing pretty hard into like a little brown paper bag or something. So like he's going to be de-stressing as much as he can leading into this game. Do you have any way you think the Raiders somehow pull this one off?
I mean, conventional wisdom would say no way. Like they're a 2-11 team going up against a Super Bowl contending type team. So there's no way. I'll be honest with you. The thing that I'm most intrigued by is if Geno Smith is actually starting this week, and how far he makes it through this game if he is. I'm actually more intrigued with the idea of Kenny Pickett, which is sad. But playing this game against the Eagles. The Eagles have problems. The Eagles have some real problems. One can easily look back at their previous games and say, well, wait a second, they're playing good teams and they're winding up on the wrong side of it. How many games is Jalen going to throw a bunch of picks and have, a pick and multiple fumbles in the same play? And I get it. There's a lot to be said about that. The problem is for the Eagles that the more they ask of Jalen, the worse he seems to play. When they need him, he's not performing. In fact, it's considerably the opposite right now. May just be a period of time, kind of like the baseball yips problem. Who knows? But I think this is easily the Eagles' game to lose. I just think the Raiders need to show up. The other thing about the Raiders, of course, is that at 2 wins, they don't want to win this game at all. So that would mean I assume that they're the number 2 pick if it was to end today. Mm-hmm. I don't think they have any particular interest in winning this game. So I'm hoping it'll be a game on some level. But I kind of get the feeling this one may get away very, very early, first half kind of win kind of thing for the Eagles.
I feel you. I figure if you have Saquon Barkley and you're going into your fantasy playoffs, this is a good week to have him. So if for no other reason than just bulk of carries. So we shall see. So moving into the afternoon window, we get one of the better games of the week. We get the Packers going to play the Broncos. What's being called the Grossi Perna Bowl. So their two teams are both playing exceptionally well right now. Broncos have the best record in football, I believe, or they went out some weird tiebreaker over the Patriots somehow. Pardon me. Packers, though, man, they just had that really good division win, took over the NFC North for the moment. A good race up happening up north, and then we'll see. Who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about this game. Both teams are very, very similar. I think the guy who may be the biggest impact, if I were to guess a single person who may impact this, and it'll probably give away who I think might win this one, might be Micah Parsons. The Green Bay Packers are probably a 7-win team if it's not for Micah, because of the timing of a couple of the sacks that he's had. I think they almost certainly would have lost to Dallas if he hadn't caught Dak in that game. And then there was another game where he sacked somebody in the fourth quarter. It was a big sack. I would not be shocked if Bo Nix doesn't get caught out in this. I also don't think this game means as much to the Broncos as it does to the Packers. The Packers need more separation in their division. If the Broncos don't win this one, they're not in that big of a bad position in their division. So we'll see. But yeah, I kind of think that may be the concern. I will take the Broncos though. I like their coaching better. Not to say that I like their coach better, but I like the coaching and the way that that's worked out better up there. So I'll stick with the Broncos.
Yeah, in my head, I feel like their defense will be the difference maker here. Just kind of shutting down to some degree what the Packers do. But we'll see. They have proven me wrong before when they went up against good defenses. So maybe they'll do just enough. We shall see. I feel like maybe not completely disagree with you, but the Broncos have more room to spare in their division. But they would like very much so to have that number one spot to keep home field throughout the playoffs. No one wants, I don't say no one wants to go play in Denver, but there have been certain somewhat measurable differences in how games go if you're playing in Denver or not, and that might play out to their advantage. So either way, everyone wants home field advantage. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see. Next game, we've got another pretty good game. It doesn't really look all that great with these percentages, but we got the Lions going to play the Rams. The Lions had a nice game last week and managed to kind of right their ship somewhat against your Cowboys. I'm sorry.
Yep.
But this would be a much harder test. The Rams, although it's not much of a feather in their cap to beat the snot out of the Cardinals, they have been playing exceptionally well, except for that one weird Panthers game a couple of weeks ago for the last 2 months almost, I think. And so, yeah, this should be a really good game. Who do you have winning, though?
Yeah, I think this one could be very, very interesting. I mean, I do think that this is an uphill battle for the Lions. I think this is the Rams' game to lose. It's at home. I think the way we've seen from the Rams is as long as they're not beating themselves, they're hard to beat. The Lions are built right to beat this team. They're a defense first team. They do score a lot of points, but they're a really, really good defense. The Lions have the athleticism, as Dallas recently experienced, the athleticism to exploit good defenses, because it only takes that one missed tackle or whatever to end up with 7 points. So, I expect that this will be I expect a really good game. I expect it to be kind of a high-scoring game. But, yeah, I think it is the Rams' game to lose. And they've beat, I think, in two at least of their 3 games, I think they really beat themselves more than the other team beat them. So we'll see if they stay consistent kind of going forward here. Yeah,
this one feels like a shootout to me. Like 30 points for each team, kind of what we saw from like Cincinnati and Buffalo last week. We'll see who can come out on top. I mean, if the Lions can find a way to slow down Puka Nacua, that's a huge part of their offense, obviously. So we shall see. Hardly anyone's been able to do that this year. So, fun test for them. If the Lions want to contend in that division, especially with the way you've got this rolling out with the Broncos potentially winning at the same time, the Lions could make some real headway in their division if they can pull this one off. So for me, I'm kind of torn because if the Rams win, it's like, boo Rams. But if they lose, it's, oh, good, the Seahawks move up. So that's great. All right, then we've got the Panthers going to play the Saints. Panthers, I believe, coming off their late season bye, hopefully getting a little bit healthier. Good for them. The Saints coming off of that rather strange win over the Buccaneers. And when I think back over the real history, I'm like, oh yeah, the Saints have had the Bucs number for a long time. Even when Tom Brady was there, he had a hard time beating the Saints. So maybe that's why that happened. I do think that they're one of those teams that you can't look over because they'll string together just the right plays at the right time. Some, rookie quarterback that's just trying to prove himself might put together the perfect game. But does this seem like that kind of game against the Panthers team that is still fighting for first in that division?
Yeah, I think this could very easily be that kind of a trap game where you overlook somebody and they hurt you, as kind of almost feels like the Bucs fell prey to in some ways. That I don't want to say overlooked, but still, the Panthers, though, the Panthers are coming off the bye week, but before that was their win against the Rams. So it feels like they've had a lot of time to prep for this game and get healthy. This should be the Panthers game. The thing about a young team with this much young talent is their ability to mess it up, right? It doesn't take long for people to start heroing through things, and then all of a sudden they're making mistakes they shouldn't be making. I think they've got to be careful because a bunch of veterans just got beat by the Saints last week. So I still think this is the Panthers game to lose, but the Saints will take advantage if you leave the door open.
Okay, well. Yeah, it should be interesting. Maybe this will be a better game than this percentage implies because it's a division matchup. But I feel like the Panthers have the right things going for them. And if they can get those two, that
running back
two-headed monster going with those running backs again, they're going to beat a lot of teams that way. So we shall see. All right. Then we've got one of the more interesting games of the week, oddly enough. But it may just be interesting at the start. And that is, who's the quarterback going to be for the Colts? At the time of recording, Philip Rivers is on the practice squad for the Colts. He may end up moving up and being the starter by the actual start of the game, or maybe we'll get Brett Rypien, however you say his name. The Seahawks rolling right along. Aside from the loss to the Rams a couple of weeks ago, they're still playing quite well as a team. Now, I will say Sam Darnold has come down to earth quite a bit in the last few weeks. He's turning the ball over a bit more, but it's still not enough to really derail them as a whole just because of how stacked that team is and that roster, that defense in particular. So it feels like that defense could probably win this game all on their own. They have got to keep pace with both the Niners and the Rams now. So we'll see. But the Colts it feels like without a good starting quarterback, they might not have a lot of a chance against a lot of teams. Who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, even a week ago, this would have looked like a really exciting matchup. Like, oh man, this could be really good. We could learn a lot about the Colts, all of that. Now it looks like, man, I just hope this is a decent football game. And I really kind of doubt that it will be, just because you have that oddity where a backup quarterback comes in and for whatever reason, the game plan seems so complex, I guess, to the opposing team. They can't figure it out and they end up really pressing or winning the first game they come in. I don't think we're going to see that here. I think the Seahawks defense is well coached. They don't miss a lot. So I think that this is a Seahawks kind of a much easier win than they probably would have had to fight for if they had this game last week. So it's just bad luck for the Colts. And we'll see what the Philip Rivers things turns into. Is he able to play? I don't really know what their game plan is with that. I don't hate it for what's available out there for them to utilize him. It's just I don't know how quickly he can be ready to go with the people that are there. So this should absolutely be the Seahawks though.
Yeah, I have to agree. And quite frankly, even if it was still Daniel Jones, I think I'd probably pick the Seahawks here.
Sure.
Just the way they're playing right now. The Colts had come down a notch since they're halfway through the season dominance. So, yeah, I would have picked the Seahawks regardless. But we'll see. Could still prove interesting. We've got the Titans after that going to play the 49ers. Titans coming off of a decent win over the Browns last week. The Niners, I believe, had that late season bye. I think that's right. But still playing really well despite all the injuries that they have going on. Cam Ward had one of the best plays of the week where he just had a guy trying like all kinds of wrestling leverage moves on him and things like that. And he just shook him off and threw the ball. It was a really good play. Made you think, yeah, that's why we drafted him first overall. That was very nice. He's going to need to do some more of that this week. Although the defense of the 49ers is not the most terrifying thing, particularly without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. He's going to need to play extreme Superman here. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the outstanding performance from Tony Pollard, who had kind of disappeared this season until this last week, just because the whole team isn't operating particularly well. But Tony Pollard just exploded this last week. He'll need to do that again, most likely, as well, as the 49ers still have an incredibly stacked offense. Who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, I mean, the short version is 49ers. If this had been last week, there wouldn't even been a conversation. We just hadn't seen anything from the Titans in so long. And then, now it's like, okay, well, cool. They beat the Browns, and that was a close game. So, yeah, I'm excited for Tony Pollard, right? Like, it was a good game, as you already pointed out, for him. But there's just not a lot of positive takeaways still for the Titans on that, enough to give me any hope against the 49ers. So yeah, the 49ers should have this one early in the game and be able to kind of use this as a stay healthy game, I would think, for their last stretch of the season to pull away in their division. So yeah, I think I'll stick with the 49ers.
Yeah, the 49ers have some very important games coming up. They obviously need to not drop one to the Titans between now and then, following in the Cardinals' rare suit of losing to the Titans. So we shall see. But yeah, this should be the Niners all the way. Christian McCaffrey should have a nice game. But don't run up the middle, because Jeffrey Simmons is playing like a man who's angry.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Sunday night, we get the Vikings and the Cowboys. The Vikings still kind of in turmoil. I feel like they had a nice win this last week over Washington, I believe. Cowboys with that disappointing loss where just a lot of things went wrong, particularly on defense. We talked about it. It kind of felt like your defense maybe pumpkined a little bit, or at least momentarily turned back into its early season form. You're not going to be playing against Detroit's offense by any means or measure against the Vikings this coming week. So it doesn't feel like it's as likely that you're going to allow 44 points. However, that defense of theirs is very strict, very tough. So we'll see if you're able to put up 30 on them. Do you have the Cowboys winning this game?
The short version is yes. I think the Vikings just came off a pretty impressive win against the Commanders. Not the Commanders are playing well. They've got a lot of injuries, a lot of problems. It's just, so maybe they should have won that game, but a 30-0 victory is shutting out a team in the NFL. I don't care who they are, is hard to do. And so that's a very convincing win that they all of a sudden had. JJ McCarthy, I feel like has been a challenge. I think he has caused some of their problems, or been the cause of the root of it, however you want to put it, whatever the politest way of saying that is. But I think that the game and the approach that they used against the Commanders was a smart approach for how they're built, which is run the ball and then let McCarthy throw when he has to, versus like, let's pretend that McCarthy's ready to be a passing quarterback in the NFL. I think that was very, very effective, and I'm a little bit concerned about it in our game against them. Not so much that I think we're going to overlook anyone, because I think Dak said that the other day, is we can't afford to overlook anyone. Like, we've got to be paying attention to every single game. It's now all of a sudden there's more questions about our defense again. How are we going to do it in that regard? I think we've got to stop the run here, force McCarthy to be what beats us, let things fall the way. I still expect us to drop 30 points on the Vikings, which I think is an achievement, but I expect us to clean things up and play solid in that regard. If CeeDee Lamb's not going to play, which I think is currently the expectation, I think we're going to see more of Ryan Flournoy and kind of head on that. So, yeah, I'll pick Dallas.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think I would do the same. The Vikings are playing rather inconsistently, and I don't trust their offense to keep up with your offense. So unless you have one of those rare games where you're only, like when you played the Cardinals, you were only able to put up like 17 or something like that. And kind of floored as to why that happened. Unless something like that happens, you should walk away with a victory here, and hopefully keep your hopes. Yeah. Keep the hopes alive of catching the Eagles. And we'll see how that looks toward the end of the season. But as for the Vikings, yeah, they've got a good defense. I still have some trust in them there. And they have obviously some great pieces on offense. They're just not putting together consistently. So it's which Vikings team is going to show up. Yeah. If their best version shows up, we'll get a really good game. If not, you could run right over them. So, yeah, we'll see. And any other team, if CD Lamb goes down or their equivalent if CD Lamb goes down, I would say, oh, that's a huge hit for their offense. But because of what Pickens has proven this year for you, I'm less concerned. And again, you have Flanoy behind him, who's playing incredibly well. Your reliance on Jake Ferguson it makes your team rather resilient in that way. So it should be a good game. Fun Sunday night matchup. We'll see, though. Then to close out the week, Monday night, we get the Dolphins going to play the Steelers. Two teams rather that are rather desperate's the wrong word, but close enough. Desperate to continue winning to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Steelers coming off that nice division win over Baltimore, but they got some tough games closing out. And then the Dolphins, who are on this amazing tear, that's this fun Cinderella story. If they can come back and basically win out, then they've got a solid shot of making the playoffs still and being a potentially dangerous team in the playoffs. This one should be quite interesting. Obviously, the Steelers are heavily favored. Who do you have winning this one?
Yeah, the Dolphins are kind of a fun Cinderella-y kind of team here. And they're in a pickle still because of what division they're in. But yeah, I mean, all of a sudden they're putting up pretty good points against everyone. They beat the Bills, which is huge for them 4 weeks ago. But then they haven't played any high competition since then, Commanders, Saints, Jets. Now they come back to play another legitimate playoff kind of contending team, which is what they're trying to be as well. And the Steelers, I anticipate, will play with a little level of desperation as they try to cling to their narrow division here. I think this is going to be a great game. I'm still going to stick with the Steelers on this. I don't think it's this big of a gap between the two. I think the thing that I'm trying to figure out with the Dolphins is the thing that's working just that their offense is working better against teams that don't have particularly good defenses, or is the Dolphins defense magically looking better against teams that have no offense? And the answer may be both. So I just don't know yet. I haven't seen it. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing that against the Steelers, who need their defense to show up and play one of their better games, I think, because their defense is what I feel like up and down. So we'll see. But I'm going to stick with the Steelers here on this one. Dolphins are hard charging, but I think I'm going to hold on to the Steelers here.
Well, that makes some sense. I do like the idea that I think the Dolphins' strength of victory is like 300. It's like 321. So they have not beat good teams, and there's legitimate math to go along with that. But this is a good opportunity for them to make some progress there. It's not like the Steelers or the Patriots or the Broncos or whoever, but like this is a solid win if they could pull it off. On the other side of this, the Steelers need to try to pull away from the Ravens and kind of slam the door the rest of the way on the Bengals, because someone said at the end of the day, I think it was might have been Bruce Arians, who was saying, it's like, look, the Bengals don't have a great record, but no one wants to play them in the playoffs. So that is true, and they need to keep that eventuality from happening, although I'd root for the Bengals if they somehow made it, but we shall see. Yeah. So that all being said, thanks everyone for joining us. We love doing our picks every week, and we're going to try to keep doing them. Next week, we've got some pretty busy schedule stuff, so we'll see about that one. And for the rest of this week, we might not be able to put together a whole lot of videos just because of travel stuff that some of us are doing, that one. And we'll see how that goes. So I hope you'll join us next time. And that being said, we're trying to get to 200 subscribers. So if you wouldn't mind giving us a like and subscribe, let us know down in the comments what we didn't think of with some injury that happened that we missed, or just that you think the one win or another is misrepresented. So just let us know what you think. We love that stuff. Join us again sometime. And until then, stay warm. And I hope you have a fantastic week.